Welcome to the Wood County Humane Society's Volunteer Orientation Training. We appreciate your interest and desire to dedicate your time and service towards a rewarding experience of placing homeless pets in their forever homes. This effort could not be completed without help from people like you. Thank you. It is important to pay attention because at the end of the video you will be asked 3 questions that will ensure to staff that you have watched this video. A private, non-profit 504c3 organization, the Wood County Humane Society, WCHS, was originally chartered in 1904. The Wood County Humane Society took occupancy at the Minnie Bell Conley shelter location in April of 1988. The Wood County Humane Society works closely with the Humane Society of the United States, the Bowling Green Animal Control Officer, and the Wood County Dog Shelter, although it is not an affiliate of any of these agencies. Since we are a nonprofit organization, we rely heavily on donations from local individuals and businesses, community shares of Northwest Ohio, a workplace giving campaign, and annual large event fundraisers like the Wine and Dine and Mutt Strut events. The Wood County Commissioners generously help fund our Cruelty Investigation Department, but we receive no other funding from national humane organizations, the United Way, or the government. Therefore, the shelter operates using a small shelter staff, a volunteer working board of directors, and exceptional volunteers that help us to complete our daily tasks. Our mission is to bring about the best possible treatment and quality of life for all animals in Wood County. WCHS does not euthanize as a form of population control or because of space restrictions. Primarily, the shelter is home to domesticated cats and dogs. Our cats come to us from a variety of situations: owner surrenders due to life circumstances, friendly strays from within the county that a Good Samaritan finds. Others are injured or orphaned, or part of animal cruelty and neglect cases. Remember, our goal is to find the best indoor home for our adoptable cats. The shelter offers spay and neuter services for the county's free, roaming, and domesticated cats through a partnership with Humane Ohio. Once a week, a van transports cats to be fixed at the Toledo facility for a minimal cost to the owner and then returned for pickup. The Humane Society opens its doors to dogs that mostly come from owner surrender situations or animal cruelty and neglect cases. We do not take in stray dogs as they fall under the jurisdiction of the dog warden. Like cats, however, the dogs must pass a safety assessment before entering the facility. A dog with a history of biting cannot be admitted. It is vital for visitors and volunteers to follow staff's protocol when handling dogs. Occasionally, the shelter also houses rodents, birds, and reptiles. The shelter has 5 rooms designated for cats and 2 areas designated for dogs. When cats arrive at the shelter, they go through an intake process and are then housed in our intake room. This is a staff-only room, and no visitors or volunteers are allowed in intake and isolation rooms. Unlike most shelters, we have a special designated room for FIV-positive cats. This disease compromises a cat's immune system and therefore takes the animal a longer time to fight infections. However, the cat lives a pretty normal feline life. The disease is only contagious to other cats and not volunteers. Do not take cats out of their cages unless instructed to. We welcome our guests to play with the cats, help groom their fur under staff supervision, trim their nails, and clean their ears. For our cat lovers, we also encourage them to spend time with some of the cats who have trouble adjusting to the cat room's somewhat overwhelming atmosphere. Some of the cats will hide or perch for extended periods of time. We ask volunteers to pet these more independent cats in order to socialize them and therefore increase their likelihood of being adopted. Our facility houses an average of 12 dogs, and we do our best to make their stay at the shelter a time for learning and enrichment. For new or ill dogs, a kennel space will be provided that is not directly next to another dog. This prevents the spread of disease, or neighboring dogs that don't get along or not out at the same time next to each other. We bring all our dogs up to date on their vaccines, spay or neuter them, heartworm test them, and give them preventatives for worms and pests. We also place a strong emphasis on behavioral training because an obedient dog is not only more adoptable, but also more likely to stay in a lasting home. Volunteers are encouraged to continue this training with dogs. In addition, one of our most popular ways to help at the shelter is to walk the dogs during our scheduled time slots under the direction of our dog trainer and veteran volunteer dog walkers. During their 2-mile loop, the dogs are trained to behave well on a leash and interact to an owner's command. Once you become an active volunteer with our dog program, we welcome volunteers to socialize with the dogs and do occasional grooming and bathing or off-shelter trips. Now that you have an overview of how the Humane Society operates, it's important as a volunteer that you understand what the Humane Society does in order for an animal to get into a home. Our motto is Adopt a Friend for Life. Therefore, we take many steps to ensure that once an animal is placed in a home, he or she is able to live a full life in a loving environment. Listen to staff. Certain animals in the shelter's care require a special approach. We do have some animals that do not do well initially with kids, women, or men. The staff knows these details. Never enter a kennel space without permission, and do not interact with animals without staff's permission, especially those in cages. They could be sick or protective of their space. Most volunteer opportunities in our shelter require the individual to be 18 years old. Individuals under 18 need approval from the shelter manager to work with animals. In the animal field, because of the likelihood of bite, scratch, or other animal-related injuries, it is recommended to have a tetanus vaccine every 10 years, but it is not required. Pregnant women should always consult with their primary health care physician before volunteering. We also require that all volunteers wear closed-toe shoes, no sandals or flip-flops. Since we have touched base on ways to help in the shelter, the following section will give you an overview of ways a volunteer can help at the Wood County Humane Society. If you have allergies or are unable to physically work with the animals, we can use help with office work. Data entry, making copies, taking pictures, recording videos, and helping with mailings are all things we are willing to designate to qualified volunteers. If you want to be a part of helping animals find their home, we are always looking for people to help at our off-site adoption events. In order to pull off these events, we need people to transport animals to and from the site, handle animals at the events under staff supervision, help prepare the sites for the event, tear down and clean up tents, tables, crates, and posters after the event. If your friends refer to you as a handy person, we'd love for you to help us out at the shelter. We need help with repairs and upkeep of the shelter grounds. You can also help with yard work and gardening. Anything that will help improve the shelter environment will be welcomed by your services. A large part of the Humane Society's mission is to educate the public about its services and instill responsible pet ownership for all generations. If you enjoy helping with presentations at school, civic groups, and public educational events, then this might be the area in which you volunteer. Most volunteers begin their service at the Wood County Humane Society cleaning. Every morning, every room in the shelter and the outdoor areas are cleaned from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We follow a strict protocol for cleaning, using certain products for certain areas, and specified routines in order to ensure sterile conditions and avoid cross-contamination. Therefore, volunteers must follow staff's instruction carefully to prevent cross-contamination. This is a great way to learn more about the shelter and meet the animals. So you want to help, but are not able to come during our shelter hours, not quite of age, or some other restriction. No problem. There is a lot an individual can do outside the shelter. One rewarding way is for your family to apply to be a foster parent. Help an animal along his or her journey to find a forever home. We need people willing to foster young kittens, keep a dog quiet and comfortable while undergoing heartworm treatment, or recovering from surgery and illness, boarding a farm animal from a cruelty investigation, or accommodating a litter of puppies until they are of age to be adopted. The shelter covers medical expenses and food. The foster family provides shelter, love, and transportation to and from vet appointments. We also require foster families to remain in weekly contact with the shelter so we are able to keep tabs on the foster animals. Being a non-profit, we have a very limited budget. Therefore, in order to cover our expenses and improve our organization, We need qualified individuals to help with grant writing and fundraising. Fundraising can be as simple as a bake sale, wish list donation drive, special dinner or event, or as elaborate as organizing a 5K. The Wood County Humane Society has 2 annual fundraisers, Wine and Dine in the spring and Mutt Strut in the fall. If you enjoy large-scale event planning, you might want to consider sitting on this committee. Another important aspect of the shelter is public relations. We are always looking for creative ways to advertise our services and raise awareness through media outlets like the newspaper, Facebook, WTOL community page, and radio. If you have a talent in this area like graphic design, broadcasting, creative writing, photography, videography, or are a social butterfly, you could work with a staff person helping us get the news out about the shelter. Simple ways to help out for an hour or 2 a week is picking up food and litter box donations from area businesses. Also, if you are able to drive a large van, you can help with our weekly transport of cats to Humane, Ohio and Toledo. Thank you for watching our informational orientation about Wood County Humane Society. Understanding more about who we are as an organization, how we operate, and ways you can help will be a valuable aspect in volunteering with the Humane Society. At the end of this video, there will be 3 questions that you need to answer, and then email them to wcholvolunteerator@gmail.com. The volunteer committee will then schedule a brief orientation tour. The suggested minimum time requirements for volunteering are 3 months at least 6 hours a month. For those of you who are looking to help for a limited amount of time or have a large group, please check with the volunteer committee. Treat your service as a job. We're relying on you once you state you will be there to help. We understand that situations arise, but we are looking for committed, responsible volunteers. Thank you for your commitment, and we look forward to working with you.